Welcome everybody to today's webinar. I'm super jazzed to be here. We're going to be talking about 5 strategies JDA used to transform pipeline management and forecast accuracy. We've got a great guest, but before I introduce him and a little bit more about some housekeeping items, we want to play a short video just as a few of our stragglers jump in.
Do you know what's changing in your pipeline week over week? Are you struggling to know which deals will close as you try to make your quota and forecast number? HD Forecast from Inside Sales allows you to zero in on what's changed in your pipeline, spot risk, and deliver bulletproof forecasts. It reduces the time you spend forecasting so you can spend more time making sales. HD Forecast, part of the InsightSales.com platform, drives more revenue by increasing your time to sell, doubling your forecast accuracy, and improving close rates by up to 20%. See how HD Forecast can help you mitigate your pipeline risk to sell more and improve your forecast accuracy.
Perfect. Let's get going here. So before we get into it, quick note, Inside Sales, Sales Acceleration Podcast, myself, Gabe Larson, my co-host Steve Ayer. Twice a week we do episodes talking all things sales, sales operations, and demand generation. Tune in. We'd love to have you subscribe and be a guest. Here's just a couple housekeeping items. This webinar is going to last about 30 to 45 minutes. We're anxious for it to be as engaging and as interactive as possible. So I'd ask right now that you grab your Q&A box right there and you type your name and where you're from, just so I can kind of get an idea and Chris can get an idea of who's here. And I want to make sure you know how to use your Q&A box there. Let's see, are we getting a couple people? Yep, there we go. Perfect. So as you do that, also, this will be recorded, so if you'd like to share it with others, we'll make sure we send it to you tomorrow. If you'd like to tweet anything, you can use hashtag InsideSalesWebinar. Perfect. Yep, we've got Lee coming, Matt here, Camilla, Joni, Maureen, Neil, Gary, Jeff. Fantastic. Guys, please use that chat box. Ask questions, say stuff. We're excited, guys. Excited to get going here. Okay, so with that, let's introduce our guest speaker today. You obviously know me, Gabe Larson. I run our Inside Sales Labs. We've got Chris Smith, who runs sales operations over at JDA. Chris, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Gabe. I'm doing great.
Good. Well, hey, man, really appreciate you joining. Do you mind just giving a little bit more of an overview of kind of what hat you wear over there at JDA?
Sure. Well, as Gabe mentioned, Gabe, I'm the sales operations director. So really, a lot of what I do is I look after an operations team that is in charge of taking care of our sales team. So and the tools that our sales team uses. So as far as we look after and represent our organization, the sales organization with Salesforce, with Inside Sales. We are responsible for a lot of the KPIs analytics. We facilitate the forecasts and all that happens in and around our pipeline. So we are the salespeople. We are the direct contact for the sales associates, and then also we are really we do a lot of data analysis around our pipeline, and we communicate quite a lot with our executives and in and around the movements and really what's going on in the pipeline.
Yeah, this is going to be fun today, you guys. Chris is he's a doer. I mean, having talked with him now a couple times, sometimes you join a webinar and you get some high-level stuff. I mean, today is meat. Today is detailed. Today is really how Chris and JDA have just been able to take it, I think, from A to Z, 0 to 60, on sales operations, in particular pipeline management and forecasting. So, Chris, why don't you take just a minute? Let's go ahead and dive in, but I want to make sure people understand a little bit about JDA. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your company, what you guys are doing.
Sure. JDA, we are in the end-to-end supply chain software business. So really, we're definitely a global organization. We've got 4,000 plus customers. We're on target for around $700 million in sales across various lines of business. So we have everything from our software demand to software subscription. We have a very robust consulting service, cloud, and then education. We have quite a robust product area as well, given that we're a supply chain, we're end-to-end. So we've got, we break our products across 7 solution areas and 16 different product lines. Right now, it's from an infrastructure perspective as an organization, we're really a Workday, a Salesforce 10-Rock shop. And the one great thing that I personally feel with, in really talking about HD Forecast is no one but sales operations owns HD Forecast at JDA. We are in sole control of the development and in the operation of the tool, which really allows us to be extremely flexible and highly responsive to our organization.
Love it, love it. So that's a little bit about JDA. Now let's get into, when you and I have talked, Chris, it sounds like you guys have been on an interesting journey over really the last almost 3 years around tightening your forecast and your pipeline management. Can you walk us through that journey a little bit as to some of the roadblocks, the successes you've experienced?
Sure. So really in the 2012, 2013 timeframe, we were really struggling with what was changing in our pipeline. We knew what our pipeline was today, and then we had some homegrown tools that we were copying our pipeline, and we were trying to measure the deltas and trying to really understand really what was changing in our pipeline. But it was just really difficult for us. So we were really looking for a solution to help us with that. HD Forecast was something that we I think we talked to some folks at Dreamforce, and then really we saw it as a potential solution to a problem. We got into a proof of concept for about 6 months, and really we started kicking the tires of the tool and really starting to kind of see how fast we could answer some of our own questions. And a lot of these questions, what happened? That was a lot of our time back then about really trying to explain what happened, with the pipeline. And that's something that we quickly saw that HD Forecast could help us with. We also saw a tremendous amount of capability that we could leverage, really push our operations and really our coordination as an organization together as well. So in Q1 of 2014, go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is perfect. This is I think most of our listeners can probably relate to some of the challenges that you're talking about. So go ahead and continue. Yep.
So in Q1 of 14, we signed a 3-year subscription agreement. Now, we started with 30 users. It was a very limited agreement. We really very senior executive management focused. And at the last count, I've got a PO that we're going to go up to 142 here, I think this week, from a user perspective. Currently, right now, we've got operations, sales management, executives, product management, solution management. Those are the types of users that are using the tool for JDA. We haven't blown it down to our sales folks as of yet. But we started this journey, and we started to immediately get familiarity with the various components of the tool, with the BI, the extremely robust BI that comes with it, and Active Insights. And what we were able to do in a short period of time is move away from this spreadsheet approach to our weekly forecast cadence calls, where we had this spreadsheet that was painful to develop and painful to produce. Inevitably, someone had a different spreadsheet and the numbers didn't match. We were able to push that to the side, and move to an all system-driven forecast call. So we were able to produce views that really support our calls, that can be reviewed at any time. So it doesn't take my team to develop we don't have to prepare a sheet and send it out and then people wait for it to come and then review it. It's live all the time, which is huge.
Yeah, no, perfect. So that's a little bit of the journey. I want to hear a little bit about the results. So it sounds like, I think everybody knows that world of, hey, we were in spreadsheets. We were trying to get robust with pivot tables and figure out everything that the CFO wanted. We were able to get a little bit of this tool and really start to build around it. And then it sounds like you had some great results coming kind of out of this whole journey.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. Really, one thing we look at a lot of, what we do a lot of analysis on, is really our pipeline yields. We have a couple different ways of looking at it, but on a trailing 4-quarter basis, our quarter start pipeline yield, we've increased. We're yielding 11% better than we were before. So really, we're spending time on more time on deals that matter, deals that have a chance to win. It's really about how we're seeing that yield increase. We're seeing, and as a result, we're seeing our average selling price start to climb, and really in the end, what we really want to see is we're seeing that big bookings increase. So really, we've really started to ramp up as an organization.
Wow, interesting. So the journey's definitely paid off. I want to get into how you actually were able to achieve some of these numbers. I think that's what the audience probably would like to hear. So let's maybe we start with this question. High level, thinking about forecasts and the tool that you were basically enabled with, how did you actually get to that value concept? What were some of the key things you were doing to drive value?
Well, really, we feel, for us being, we're definitely a very analytical organization. We like our metrics, but the challenge was that everybody had a different flavor of the metric. The metric kept changing. We were able with the tool to provide a place and a system that really that was powerful enough to allow us to look at the business how we wanted to look at it. Not how a vendor built something. It was how we wanted to look at it. So the tool gave us that power, and then really to be able to measure, quarter over quarter, week over week performance on those metrics, and really be able to really tighten the screws and really drive greater performance.
So as you think about it, maybe we can dive into some of the key ways that you actually drove that. I'd like to get a little tactical on you for a minute, Chris.
Yep.
So one of the things you and I have talked about offline is the concept of custom dashboards, and I think JDA took this to a whole new level. Maybe you can explain your thought process around custom dashboards, and then we can get a little bit into some of the things you guys did around that.
Yeah. So the whole idea about custom dashboards is, we came from, we're heavy Excel users, as well, most companies are, really complex views, complex data, but painful in maintenance and availability, and making sure that we're sharing this great data that we have. So really what we did is we partnered with our senior executives and really went to them and work with them and found out how they want to run their business, how they view their business, and how the key insights they need to see. And what we were amazed and still are amazed with is that this tool gives us the flexibility to build those views. Now, I haven't had to say no many times. No, we can't do that. We've been able to find ways to provide those views where we create these views that are up 24 hours a day that can be reviewed, to where as an organization we have a place where we go get all these metrics, KPIs, and look at different slices of the business and really understand, are we performing, or are we backing up a little bit, and be able to take action. So really putting these decision points in our executives' hands to be able to drive the organization more effectively.
Yeah, perfect. So I want to even go one more level into this, as you and I have kind of discussed, because I liked some of the specific examples that you guys actually did around custom dashboarding. So maybe you can dive into and walk us through the list of what are some of those key custom dashboards you guys were able to create to provide that visibility to management.
Sure. So really, we've taken the aspect that we create dashboards typically to facilitate a meeting, because we want our participants to be able to have early access to the information. We don't want them to have to wait for me to crank a spreadsheet and send it out or update it or all this and that. We want them to have early access. When people come to our meetings, we're prepared. So we have a weekly roadmap cadence, and really in this view, we have the ability to compare, year performance on a quarterly basis, the deltas on a dollar and percentage basis, how our quarter's stacking up against our forecast, the pipeline buckets, and then all the way down to looking at specific deals and talking about, justifying the forecast that we have. So we do that, and so that's one example. Then we have some other reviews to where we have historical KPIs, things that are teed up so as the business people running the business, they're able to go out and consume this data. What's my win rate over the past 9 quarters, or our trailing 4-quarter win rate? It's there. What are my average selling sizes? It's there. All this data, all these KPIs, we want to enable our organization to not be worrying about calculating those data points. We have those data points that we're agreed on as an organization. It's more about consuming so they can make decisions in the business. Then we really from a sales perspective, we've created a Quota Performance tab where we've actually we've had some outside consultants come in and actually call it out as a best practice tool. In this tab we have the capacity to marry up our actuals from our compensation system and our pipeline from our Salesforce system and create a blended view by quarter, showing showing how a rep's standing to make their number. Are they going to hit it? How much runway do they have? And then we even go further. We start looking like, okay, that's just this year. We want to look at current quarter plus 11 months because for us it's important for our reps to really be focusing on that out quarter pipeline development because if they're not going to hit their number. So different views like that, we can really enable the business.
So what's this one? I wanted to hear real quick just about this competitive analysis one.
Yes.
You had mentioned this before. Talk to me a little bit about that one. That sounded pretty neat.
Yeah. So really, one of the views that we have is really we bring all of our win-loss data into a widget. We're able to give our sellers a place to really understand where we've won against a certain competitor, where we've lost against a certain competitor, where we're engaged against a certain competitor, because then what it allows them to do is allows them to go and really ask those questions to the sellers that were there before them or that are there with them now. What pressures, how did we beat them? Or why did we lose to them last time? And then you're in a cycle with them right now. What's going on? What kind of FUD are they throwing on our deal right now? So it's just that quick access to data to where they don't have to be a report jockey. We try to tee that data up for them.
Yeah, so that they've got right at their fingertips that ability to just be able to, almost like a command center view. It seems like your reps are almost in a place where, they're just sitting in that command center and whatever lever they need to pull, whatever view they need to grab, they've kind of got it in order to make an informed decision. I think that's that empowering where the rep is becoming the CEO of almost his territory or her territory, as they just really understand all the different inner workings. I think it would be valuable to, we've talked a little bit about these custom dashboards. You've talked a little bit about some of the key ones you like. We wanted to get in briefly, and again, we're going a little more tactical than we probably normally do in some of these webinars, but we wanted to actually show a few of these so that we can actually give you as an audience a little more of a flavor as to what this may look like so that you can think about how you can apply it in your own business. So, Chris, maybe I can hand it over to you, and you can just walk through maybe 2 or 3 of these and maybe actually visualize and help people grasp kind of what this does and how it looks.
Yeah. So really, this is something like this is from our roadmap tab. So this is like this is our roadmap to budget, as we like to talk about it. This is our weekly review tab. So the way we started is, and the way our management wants to start it is really talking about, we want to have how you're doing on your year, heads up. What your forecast is, what your budget is, what your deltas are, and then we want to look at your current quarter. So this is like a little summary view. But the top red box, what that shows you, is that what we've done is we haven't created 1,000 tabs for 1,000 different people. We've created it's flexible like Excel, to where our management is able to go in here and drive it and say, all right, well, we're gonna talk about Tom's territory today, and we're gonna talk about this slice of the business, and quickly they can switch from another slice. And then the views don't change, so understanding what happens, understanding the view doesn't have to change, it's just the data that changes. So we can really, we have one way we look at our business, and it eliminates confusion and really eliminates discrepancy around numbers, things like that. We don't get into meetings and argue about numbers like we used to. It's more about what's going on with the data.
Oh man, what a difference that would be. Getting into a meeting and actually talk about, not data problems or questions on numbers, but how do we utilize those numbers successfully manage our business. Interesting. So that's roadmap. Maybe another. Well, anything else on roadmap you want to mention?
Well, yeah, the tool has a lot of different visualizations, graphical visualizations that we can use. From like a grid to waterfall charts to whatever you want to do. It's extremely flexible. But so we talk about we up at top we talk about summary, then we dive straight into the deals. So this is really where we can't really show the deals that we have here, but suffice to say, we're identifying the transactions, links to the opportunities in Salesforce, any associated values that we have with our services, with other opportunities, and we're able to create this consolidated view that's easy for the field to consume.
Interesting. Okay, so outside of roadmap, maybe you can dive a little bit into this line performance briefly.
Yeah, so this is an example of how we're using to empower our industry guys. So at JDA we have a really robust product set. We have direct field sales, we have industry folks, we have product line folks. We've got a lot of people, and everybody's got a different target. Everybody's got different way of looking at their business. And this is the way where we've been able to create views to really to create a full year picture on what's happening in our product solutions and or product lines. As far as you can see, there's a lot of different graphical capabilities we can do in these widgets. And then on the right-hand side, going over so we can see, they can come in and see how their lines are doing or solutions are doing. Then on the right-hand side, they can go straight into the deals that represent those. They don't have, so if I wanted to look at, category management, I can see my performance there, my numbers, and then on the right-hand side, I can say, all right, I want to see my category management deals open for whatever time period, whatever stage I'm looking for, and it will present those to me. So as a solution person, I can make sure and target on those transactions versus having to go dig and look for them. We've keyed it up, yet again, their performance year to date or quarter to date or however we're going to look at it, and then show them that the transactions where they can go make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much more empowering to have the reps be able to just access this rather than try to figure it out themselves and see if they can't play with it and tweak it and mess around in Excel. Maybe one more here. Executive sales review, I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay, yeah, this just shows how we are looking at a lot of our historical quarter start pipeline. So this is really this is high level stuff. So we like to look at our current quarter plus 3 pipeline. We call our rolling 4-quarter pipeline, and really understand how much we're actually converting into real sales. Are we getting better from a yield perspective? Are we eroding on our starting pipeline perspective? It really helps us keep a look out in the future, because we found that if we don't focus on that rolling 4-quarter, those out quarters get on us really quick, and then we're in trouble. And then once we're into the quarter start pipeline, it's like how much of that quarter start pipeline are we really retiring? And this is at a high level, but we have the ability to take this down to an extremely low level to really understand who's coming in with dirty pipeline. We can look historically and understand that. We can have conversations. We can work with a team to say, hey, you guys are coming a little hot. We need you to really get that cleaned up because you're hurting our yields. And for us, the reason why that's important is because we have to employ pre-sales, we employ all product people, we employ all these other people to help these sellers get deals done. And if we come in with bad pipeline, or with pipeline that's not clean, we're spending time on deals that we're not going to win.
Yeah,
we don't want to.
Yeah, can't argue that. One more. Let's do one more because I know this was an interesting one. The rep quota performance. Talk us through this one briefly.
Sure. This is one where really this is the view that I talked about. That really this allows a manager to really get a look at their reps and see how they performed last year versus their quota, how they're performing this year, and performing what their quota is broken out by quarter, how much pipe they have, and this view actually shows software and services because we do a little blend at times, and then how much actuals they've achieved. So really, this helps me understand, how many X this rep is, because it's pulling live from Salesforce, and then it's also pulling from our compensation system to create that blended view. So we definitely know how much they've retired, but what's their pipeline stacking up for the rest of the year? Because we want to make sure they get to their number. And then the section down below, this is where we start looking like, okay, this is where we really start challenging our sellers that are really tracking well for the year, because you're doing real well for the year. But how is next year looking? You know, how's Q1 right now looking? Because if Q1 isn't looking good right now, we're in trouble. So this really gives management a real clear view on looking at a seller, you know, and really understanding, you know, how they're stacking, how their pipeline looks, and how they're stacking up to make their number, you know, this year and then in that rolling year.
Yeah, perfect. So those are a couple examples. And again, a little bit tactical, but it's really how JDA was able to get in, apply some of these best practice principles around forecasting and pipeline management, and tailor it to their own business, and really have the visibility and empowerment I think their reps were looking for. Want to take one step up here and say, okay, so get it, Chris. So you guys were able to implement the tool, get real deep into it, customize it to fit your needs. But then it really sounded like you had to put an environment around these reports, these concepts, these best practices, so that it actually flowed in a concept like a forecasting cadence, or that management actually could use it in a way that was productive for the whole company. And I know a lot of people struggle with, you know, some people are able to build good reports, whether it's in Excel, as we've discussed, or if it's in a great BI tool like HC Forecast. But then they're not quite sure how to bundle that, create an environment around it where they can be used effectively in a management structure or a forecast cadence. Would love to hear how you guys kind of managed that and figured it out.
Yeah. Well, we're very active from a sales meeting perspective. We have a regular sales meeting forecast, and what we wanted to do is prepare, you know, the forecast, to prepare for that meeting. Historically, it was, you know, you send me, you know, I got 1,000 people sending me emails, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, which sheet I'm going to put it in. And what HG Forecast gave us is a tremendous functionality whereby we can roll our forecasts up down at the base, at the lowest level we want to go to. We can roll them up all the way up to the top of our chain. So what we've done is we've implemented a forecast globally, because we've got users across the globe, to where we have our VPs are forecasting on Wednesday. And then the great thing about this, they come into this tool, and this tool actually helps them. It has a what-if scenario. They can actually select transactions, and then it will build up kind of like a what-if column for them. Because part of it is, you know, we haven't quite gone to the statistical really deal scoring yet. We've got a very robust opportunity management program with verifiable outcomes that we leverage. But the whole idea is they need to come in and they got to pick the winners and losers. When we get a clean pipeline, but you still got to pick your winners and losers. Where are you going to end? And it gives them a tool to do some what-if scenarios, and then they enter their forecast. They save it, and once they submit it, their boss can see it. So the RVPs, the next day, they come in and they open their screens up, and it's not about their VPs, because they're still sending them notes, but the real smart ones are really coming into the system, and they're looking at the system, and they can see what Tom, Jack, Jane, and Sue entered in for their forecast, and they can see the deals that they played with their what ifs, and then our RVPs make a call, because they're going to hedge a little bit, because they know that their VPs are probably pushing a little too much, and then we take our after Thursday, after our RVPs are forecasted, then we lock it, so we have like a version of truth. So really, next week when they come in, they know exactly what they forecasted the prior week. It's not, they don't have to ask me. It's there, and then we load it, and we load it into our tool where we're visualizing it in Active Insights, like that's on some of the views we saw just previously.
Interesting. So you go kind of a Wednesday through Friday, and it sounds like the tool was pretty. It was a pretty nice touch to be able to add that in, have people submit it into the tool, then lock it down, and then visualize it when we actually get in our. And when we say Friday sales meeting, is that kind of the executive, or that's the all hands kind of sales meeting, or the leadership meeting type concept there?
Leadership meeting. Yep.
Yeah, so it's all locked, and then we can review the final. Yeah, fantastic, interesting. So it goes VPs Wednesday, then RVPs Thursday. You update Thursday afternoon, you lock it, and then Friday you actually review it. I think that's a pretty solid cadence. And again, I think some of these reports, they lose some of their power if you're not able to then actually roll it up into a better forecast that's more accurate that you can use to manage your business. So Okay, we're kind of bringing it to the end here. Want to get into a couple tips and tricks, but thinking about, when you and I talked, Chris, there was a couple features, couple secrets that you found to be very helpful in changing your business, and I wanted to just go through those real quick as we kind of wrap up to the end here. I think the first one was something about bookmarks. Maybe you can dive a little into that.
Yeah. So the bookmarks. So those of you that looking at the bookmark views, they're very akin to a report in Salesforce or whatever CRM you're using. It's a configurable. It's highly configurable. It's very user friendly. It's not an ops related tool. We train our RVP, all of our users to be able to build these. And the great thing about these is that what they do is they allow the users to go in and not only look at exactly how the pipeline sits today, but be able to really dive in and see in aggregate, in summary, and then also in detail what time dimension moves you've had, how much change you've had since last week, how much change for next quarter, how much pipeline have we built for Q1 since the start of this quarter. And I can really, what are those transactions? You can look at an aggregate perspective or down at the deal level view. So these views are important, and I think if you go to the next page, Gabe, next slide, this is an email that one of our RVPs sent to his team that operations didn't help him with this. This is a regional sales vice president that is using the tool that was able to gain these insights out of a bookmark, and he's able to push his team. And that's really what those bookmarks really have enabled our savvy sales leaders. They can go in and really drive these views, and really they can look and really use them to spur their leaders or their team members on.
Yeah. Perfect. So a little bit about bookmarks. Maybe hit on this one briefly. This kind of subscription concept. Sure. I know for a lot of you Excel lovers out there, this is one that I know Chris got pretty excited about, knowing that he was also kind of an Excel guru before.
Yeah. So yeah, Gabe, I like Excel. I definitely am a little bit of a ninja here, right? But
we all have to admit it sometime, right? You got to admit it sometime. So I'm glad you're loud and proud.
But what this tool gives us the capability to do, which is amazing, which we use quite a lot, is that we have this amazing BI. So this BI where we can complex BI, where you can do a lot of transformations, you can link objects that aren't natively linked, you can do all sorts of stuff. Really, if you can dream it, you can put it in there, and you get these great data sources out. And then what we're able to do with the subscription parse piece of HD Forecast is we can marry that complex SQL up with Excel templates, whether it be pivot tables like we're seeing here. So this thing's got a bunch of tabs, graphs, you name it, logic, whatever you want to do. We can marry them up, and then into a report, and then I can schedule that report. So I've got a bunch of reports that hit my sales leaders on Sunday when they're watching football. They're getting their kind of advanced, like this is how it looks today. This is from these reports. It's not just flat data. It's data that when they open up the Excel, you can configure Excel. It just refreshes all the data, and all the views are there ready for them to consume. So those different views that we decided we want to put some Excel in people's hands, we can schedule that stuff, and then I never have to touch it again. I don't. I built a SQL in a way where it continues to march on through the period. And then we've got the template that refreshes every time that the person opens it. And HD Forecast does such a great job of just allowing us to schedule and tell us when and who it goes to. It's great. I love these things.
Okay, well, Chris, really appreciate it. Let's finalize this here. Just with a couple concluding remarks. I mean, we've talked about a lot of forecasting cadence. We've talked about some best practice dashboards and some of the challenges and successes you guys have experienced. If you had to sum up, the last 2 years, so to say, or, your experience in managing JDA's forecast and pipeline, is there kind of a lessons learned or a couple key things you'd pass on to the group here?
Yeah, definitely. Like we talked about these, the common tool, really, we personally believe less is more. Less dashboards, less reports, less views, because quite honestly, they become confusing, and it becomes hard to know where to go, and less, but more focus on really truly value add items, and that's really what we've really gotten with the tool. So HD Forecast is our common tool. We've got common tabs that for common meetings that we collaborate on, and it really has helped us as an organization. This forecast cadence is huge. It's something that every week we do this, and be honest, some of our leaders don't forecast every week, but we do this, and it's taken the whole thing that my dad somehow it didn't get updated. We've got a cadence. They know when the cutoff times are to prepare for the meeting. They know it's published, it's out there, it's public. If you want your numbers to be accurate, your call, because we know our leaders are really looking at pipeline tight, and they're understanding that, well, it either looks like you're sandbagging or you're dreaming. You don't want to have those conversations on these calls, because that's what really our greater analysis around the pipeline has really done. That really we're getting a lot of participation in our forecast cadence.
Yeah, interesting.
And then the CRM.
Go ahead.
If your data in the CRM is if you can make it your source of truth, we actualize our opportunities. We tie them out to our accounting definition, and that way, if you can do that, your ability to leverage that data and really push it on into other places is amazing. And then in the end, you just make this whole thing your own. Drive it for your business, because really, you guys gave us a great product, but we got to make it work for us.
Yeah, and I think you guys, Chris, having worked with a number of clients who've worked through this area of pipeline management and forecast accuracy, your ability to not just say, hey, can we get something out of the box and make it simple and easy. You've said, hey, let's take our business and that something, and let's really combine it to make it great. And I think you guys have made it your own, personalized it, made it relevant to the audience, to the managers, and obviously you guys have seen some great benefits. So, well, Chris, really appreciate your time. We're going to wrap it up here, everybody. Again, jump onto the Q&A. We've already got a couple Q&A questions out there. I'll get to those in just a minute, Chris. But if you do want to dive in a little bit more into some of the stuff we've talked about today around managing your pipe, getting better at forecasting, do check out our free resource there in your window that's called Resources. You'll be able to download that and continue the journey of learning here. So with that, let's go ahead and go to Q&A. I've got a couple questions coming in from the group. Feel free to continue to pop those in, Chris. We had, looks like Jamie asked briefly about pipeline management, and this is something you and I talked about, Chris. It comes around the actual forecasting cadence and having reps, once they submit or choose which opportunities are going to be the ones they're going to put forward, that process, can you talk a little bit about how probabilities or how deals are chosen within JDA and some of the pros and cons you found doing it?
Sure. So for JDA, we like I said, we haven't gone to a scoring system yet. We're definitely looking at it. It's definitely on the radar. The way we at JDA are using our opportunity management is we have verifiable outcome-based stage gates. So really, that helps us know when we are moving into certain areas. And really, for us, what we found is, as we've looked at, is that once we get into, for us, we call it potential or better. It's we find a lot of deals. That's really where it starts becoming, there's you don't want to go off a gut feeling totally, but that's really a real deal that we're really engaged with. And then that's really where we start to, that's where we kind of populate, that's where we typically see our leaders picking the winners and losers from that bucket. So, our verified outcomes get us to that spot, and then we kind of whittle down from there.
So reps are able to use their what's going on with the deal to be able to say or choose, we believe this deal has this likelihood to close, and we push it forward. Now, you mentioned these stage gates, and we got a follow-up question here from Matt asking, he's got a couple things here on stage gates, but maybe first, can you just explain what those are? Those are associated with the opportunity stages within your CRM, I presume?
Yes, yeah. So we have a pretty robust opportunity management process whereby we have verifiable outcomes. So that we like to talk about it less in terms of gut feel and more in terms of what we're seeing in the transactions. What we're getting back from the customers, and really, and there's so we've gone through the painful exercise of really developing a pretty robust opportunity management process whereby we have, at each stage gate we have verifiable outcomes that should be, you should be seeing this before you move on, or and that's really where we're at. We actually use a opportunity management system that plugs into Salesforce.
Into Salesforce. Interesting. So then the last piece on that is, so these are actually, just to clarify, these stage gates, are they actually things that someone has to check off, or are they more notices or recommendations of things you need to have done before you move from stage 1 to stage 2?
Yeah. Well, we don't have hard stops in the system.
Got it.
But they are, when we're moving forward. If you're not noticing those, you will be challenged on. So again, that's that interaction between management. The VP and the customer executive. You're here. What verifiable outcomes get you here? And so that
gets you there. Okay.
On that.
Perfect. So yeah, this last part of the question, sorry, this is a 3-part question here, but any thoughts for the audience around optimized sales stages within a CRM? A lot of people, there's some methodologies out there. You start with discover, you move to presentation, you move to close, whatever it may be. Any thoughts on how you guys kind of created, not the gates from stage to stage, but just the actual stages themselves? It sounds like a couple of people get stuck on, or are getting stuck on that.
Okay. Yes, I think you really got to take a look at your selling model. Where do you have BD involved? Where do they play?
Yeah.
Where does really understanding that you need to provide you need to look. Do we need to provide a stage for those processes to work through? So it really varies. At JDA we have a lot of BD participants, and they really operate on our open and acknowledge stages. And then really when we move into a suspect, or we kind of go suspect, potential, probable, and firm, when we move into the suspect, we're in the hands of a salesperson. And we're really verifying that we really truly have a sales opportunity, that someone can move forward.
Yeah, and I've seen that to be pretty effective. Just to add a quick 2 cents on that, as you think about stages, thinking about just the buyer experience, right? If I'm a buyer, what are the stages? What are the milestones I need to go through in order to become a quote unquote closed deal? That's a quick way to maybe help you start thinking about how to map your sales stages to a buyer journey. Last thing here, there's a couple, but we probably should start wrapping up. This one I thought was a little bit interesting, and it's, we've got Tom here, and he's just said, hey, look, and I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, but using a CRM and using some of the standard reports in CRM, what is the difference? And he says, look, I'm not much of an expert here in my own CRM reporting, but why can't I do a lot of this in my own CRM? Why do I need to think about getting a tool like HD Forecast? Is it really required, or should I just dive deeper into my own CRM? Again, I don't want to name the CRM he mentions here, but I think it's an interesting conversation. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit, Chris.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great question. We had Salesforce since around 2007. And we created BI, a BI table where we're feeding Salesforce data on a nightly basis, and we're trying to do stuff that Salesforce doesn't do very well. The time dimensional changes are poor. They really don't have a good reporting mechanism for that. The ability to create views and really understand what's moving in your pipeline outside of just at an extremely high level, it's not executed very well. And then if you're looking to do any dashboarding, really those tools they're substandard. What we found with HD Forecast, like I said, is I haven't been presented with anything from my management team that I can't complete. And with Salesforce, that even with the Wave product, we've looked at it. It's interesting, but it definitely is not even anywhere close to what we're doing now. So for us, we needed those robust skills.
Good. Well, Chris, always more to talk about. I mean, hot topic, a lot of questions. Really appreciate the audience for chiming in. You will get these slides tomorrow. Again, if you want to continue the conversation, do please grab Chris or myself on LinkedIn. Always happy to, I assume answer questions or go from there. But Chris, thanks so much. And audience, have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Gabe.